Hey, looks like we're on here. I don't know what's going on. My internet's going out. This is our show of coming back finally. What's up? This is a full coverage football show. We're getting the kinks out tonight. My name's Jeremy. That's my boy Drew. Brother, how you doing tonight?
I'm good, man. It's good to see you again. It's been a while.
Bro, I didn't see you for a second. It was still on the opening screen, and then all of a sudden, bam, there you were. I'm like, oh shit, here we are. Baby, we back. We getting the kinks
We're
out this
back,
week.
finally.
We're gonna talk some divisional round, move into the conference round. We're gonna make some bets tonight. We're gonna have some fun. This is our first show where we can legally make bets in the state we're both in. Now,
Yes.
I'm not gonna lie to you and say that we haven't been making bets prior to this because I know I have. But
Yeah.
now we got bets that are way
just way
easier
harder.
to make. Yeah, way harder. Now all we got to do is be degens and bet on things like college basketball, like the Kent State Golden Flashes, like I did last night. Drew's got George
I
Mason
remember
tonight.
trying. Yeah, I got George Mason, Texas Tech. I don't know anything. I remember last time I had like a bookie that I tried to cash out from. And it was like, yeah, I'm never going to get my money. So it's like this one, like these real books, life's a little bit better now. So,
oh yeah, it's real
hopefully
nice.
I can cash out at some point.
Except the first 2 weeks we had this here in the state of Ohio. We started January 1st for those listening outside the state of Ohio. January 1st, it was legal to start betting. Literally at midnight on January 1st, I was signed up and ready to go on everything. I started betting on games for the NFL that day. Came short on a big parlay for the Browns that day. Moved on. First 2 weeks did really good. But I'll tell you what, luck doesn't last long in sports gambling. It's been a rough couple of weeks since.
Me too,
man. But you know who hasn't been a rough couple of weeks for? Teams like San Francisco 49ers, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Kansas City Chiefs. We started with 32 teams to begin this year. We are down to 4. And none of the 4 are the teams that we had in our final 4 at the beginning of the year. I had Rams Chargers in the Super Bowl. You had Rams Bills. The Rams, that was a bad pick on both of us.
It's a great, hey, that
at least,
number 6 pick's going to be beautiful.
At least
I'd
the Bills
look like an asshole on this show.
Yeah, at least the Bills came and gave you a shot at it until they ran into Joey Burr and the Cincinnati Bengals. Now this week is a good week because we got the Eagles, the 1 seed, the Niners, the 2 seed, Brock Purdy, Jalen Hurts. This is a matchup we all expected, midway. No one expected Brock Purdy to do anything. We saw Brock Purdy at Iowa State. We knew what he was. The kid's been playing out of his mind. Congrats to him so far. And then in the other game, we've got Andy Reid going for his 21st victory in the playoffs, which will give him second most all time, behind only the hoodie. This is his 10th conference championship game against Zach Taylor, who's in his second already, 2 in a row here. I mean, these are 4 pretty good teams. These should be 2 really good matchups. But before we get into what's going on this week, let's talk about what happened last week. Let's start Cincinnati and Buffalo. What did you think about that game? What surprised you? Talk a little bit about it.
I mean, so the Bengals immediately came out, went down the field like it was no problem, put up 6. And then when you look at the Bills, they just got dominated up front by the Bengals defensive line.
100%.
And they couldn't run and they couldn't throw. Josh Allen was clearly forcing the ball. He wasn't good at all. And it's tough to see it go down like that. But again, we've talked about it. The way they're structured, that can happen at times. When you have one guy that has to essentially play hero ball, it's just like, so for example, I look at the Bills and I look at San Francisco. San Francisco is a complete team that Brock Purdy can have success maybe despite his abilities. And I'm not downplaying anything that Brock Purdy's done. I believe he's played 7 games and won them all. But again, it's when you have to play superhero ball and you're Josh Allen, they weren't ready. They couldn't move the ball. It was sloppy. They were bad. And really the Bengals did everything they wanted. They could run, they could throw, they were dominant defensively. They forced turnovers. Really didn't expect the defense from the Bengals to show up like they did, but they played fantastic. And if you look at the final score, it's indicative of how well that defense played.
Absolutely. The Bengals come out. They haven't lost a game since they lost to the Browns on Halloween. This team has just been running through everyone. That defense turned it around. Lou Amorano's got a hell of a defense going. Trey Hendrickson on the outside getting the sacks. Sam Hubbard doing his thing. Up front, you got DJ Reader, who's just playing out of his mind. Logan Wilson, who's been a steal for them. Josh Allen's former teammate at Wyoming there. And the secondary's played up to par. They've done really well. And you brought it up exactly with what's going on with the Bills. They can't run the football. We said it all year. If you can't run the football going into the playoffs, you're going to struggle. They put everything on Josh Allen, and right now Josh Allen looks like our era, this new era's Cam Newton, where Cam Newton had to do a little bit of everything for Carolina to get through, and he was that big monster, and eventually it just ate him up. Of course, he flipped his truck, had some other issues, but right now, Josh Allen, you can't knock Josh Allen for the game he had. He didn't have a great game, but everything was on that man's shoulders. And for that defense in Buffalo, ever since Von Miller went down, they've had a crap pass rush. And Jordan Phillips was third up the gut. You know, there were other guys not playing up to snuff, and it just all came to a head. And the Bills, I mean, it was a tough game. And people to give shit to Stephon Diggs, I know I'm going off here, but this is what we do. Stephon Diggs darting out of the locker room right away. Do you blame the guy for not wanting to talk? He was pissed at the way they played. Is he going to accept it? Nah, as he said in his tweet. Shouldn't. I mean, I feel him.
I get it. But Steph Diggs has a tendency to act like a child sometimes.
He does.
I mean, I'm with you, though. I get the frustration. His
childish ways, though, are the frustration of wanting to win. Like, it's not the childish ways of some people on the Cleveland Browns team who act completely childish, Jadeveon Clowney, or other things on my team that is crap and not in the playoffs. That's why I can sit here on their field in January, because they ain't using this thing for like 9 more months.
That's true.
I mean, they're going to have a hockey game here. That's about it. But Stephon Diggs childish, totally different. I'll take that. But yeah, the Bengals just dominant. Joe Burrow came out there right off the bat and established the fact that, hey, this is what we did in that first drive against them, that game that Damar Hamlin was hurt in. And Damar Hamlin, we're going to talk more Damar Hamlin next week, by the way, because we'll get in a conspiracy corner when we're back.
And you know what I want to say, too?
Hit it.
Is the Bengals, for being down multiple offensive linemen, played a really, really nice game.
Hell yeah, they did. They played great up front.
Yeah,
they played great up front.
Impressive.
And I'll tell you what, I've given Zach Taylor shit and saying, maybe he's not that great of a head coach. But Joe Burrow, obviously the godsend for that team. Joe Burrow is a hell of a player. He is him, as he said. But a lot of guys get quarterbacks in, like Justin Herbert goes in, and you got Brandon Staley. You're maybe not doing the best thing for that quarterback. Zach Taylor's done the best thing for his quarterback in that team, and I think Zach Taylor's actually climbing the coach rankings. You got to give him credit at this point, because before it was they're just doing it in spite of him. He's solid, he's whatever. But Zach Taylor, absolutely. Now in that other game, you had Kansas City against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who really shouldn't have been in that game. They came back from a 27-0 deficit to beat the Los Angeles Chargers, which
that was my first slap in the mouth for sports betting.
Yeah, that one hurt. Okay? And all I needed was the Chargers to win, and I could have cashed out, and I didn't do it. And my kid's like, "No, Dad, go for the money." And I'm like, "Yeah, be a DJ like your father." And didn't work out.
Your kid's more financially responsible than you are.
Dude, I cashed out this week on a Dak bet, okay? I had to do it. And I think
that was smart.
It was like I had everything else, and all I needed was Dak to get over 34 pass attempts. Yeah, that's how hardcore deep I was going. It was a pass attempt bet. 34 plus pass attempts, and he was like at 29. The Niners took the ball, and I could have cashed out. I lost $13. But I was like, no, we're cashed out. Run out the clock and cashed out, whatever. Anyway, I don't even know what the hell we're talking about. Jacksonville Jaguars and the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City dominated the game for the most part. They came out right away, and they made it clear. And, the Jags, they fought back. That was a hell of a football team who never, ever backed out of any deficit they had. And they showed that their team that's going to be a contender for the near future. Trevor Lawrence looking like that guy who they took number 1 overall. And amazing what coaching can do when you're a year removed from the Urban Meyer fiasco.
Yeah. But Doug Peterson's the adult in the room, right? Like you bring in, they brought in an adult, which they needed. You look at Jacksonville, they just keep getting off to such slow starts. Mm-hmm. And again, you can't, it's hard to be Trevor Lawrence and come back against the Chargers, go into Arrowhead and get behind and try to come back against Patrick Mahomes. They just don't, to me, have enough offensive firepower to hang with a team like City. Now, we saw Patrick Mahomes go down with the injury, and he thought, okay, well, hey, maybe here's the opportunity for Jacksonville to get back in this game. But they just don't have enough. I do agree that's an ascending football team. But Andy Reid just has the ability to, even if you throw Chad Henne in, like he just has the ability to make it easy on the quarterback when he has to. Simple throws. They ran the ball decently. But again, so I look at that game, and my biggest takeaway is, of course, you thought Kansas City was going to win. Of course, they blew the cover because of that stupid field goal decision. But at the same time, I look at Kansas City, and your real thing you take out of that game is you thought KC was going to win. Is how healthy is Mahomes going to be come Sunday this week? And that's all that really matters, because a guy that literally, we talked about Josh Allen and the team being on his back. I mean, that is Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, it is Patrick Mahomes' team. And you brought up Andy Reid. If it wasn't for the hoodie right now, we would talk about Andy Reid as possibly one of the top head coaches of all time.
Yeah.
And I mean, especially in this area, you wouldn't even, I mean, it'd be him and then everyone else. We have some really good head coaches in the NFL, but Andy Reid is, if Belichick's won, Andy Reid is almost 1A at this point. I mean, how good he's done. Yes, it's only one Super Bowl, but he's done it multiple places, gotten to multiple conference games. And
I don't
he
know
never.
If you listen to the Kelsey brothers have a podcast now.
Yes.
And Travis Kelsey was talking about Andy Reid, and just like Andy Reid, and what I love about Andy Reid is he's never been content. He's always learning. He's always adapting, and he makes it seem fun. He gets the ball in everybody's hands. The way he schemes up things offensively is better than anybody in this league. And I know Kyle Shanahan is one that you could say that, and that's an argument to certainly make with what he's been able to do with Jimmy Garoppolo and now Brock Purdy, and kind of the way that offense hasn't really necessarily skipped a beat. But Andy Reid is that guy, and I think that out of all the top play callers in the league, Sean McVay, Andy Reid's the one sitting at the top with the double cheeseburger.
Always about the cheeseburgers. Giving cheeseburgers, Hawaiian shirts. Andy Reid is an absolutely amazing head coach.
Full send on that.
And when you talk Andy Reid and you look at, if you want to even go deeper with comparisons between him and the hoodie, look at their coaching trees. The Andy Reid coaching tree is far better. Far better.
Yep. Yeah.
Let's move.
The Belichick
let's move into the
not great.
Let's move over to the divisional side of the NFC. We had the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, that game, they got right off the bat and just started stomping the New York Giants. The Giants looked overwhelmed in that game. For as good as they looked against the Minnesota Vikings, who proved it
Vikings are the biggest fraud maybe ever.
13-4 team, and they just looked awful. And they maybe convinced more people that the Giants were better than they really were. And the Giants come out and looked like,
let's beat the shit out of both of those teams down the stretch.
Eagles were cocky in this game too. They had all the swag, all the riz, as the kids say these days. They had all that going for them, because I mean, they're scoring touchdowns and Sirianni's like, yeah, I got it, whatever. And he's doing the swagger walk on the field, and
Sirianni
staring
in
the camera.
Bro.
He is. And remember his press conference, like we were making fun of him in his press conference. Weird. It was so awkward. Weird. And now this dude is just taking over, and he's giving that team an identity. Jalen Hurts. God bless Jalen Hurts. When he was picked second round, 53rd overall, they had Carson Wentz. And I'm like, this, I'm not sure about this. This is a player that couldn't be unlocked by Nick Saban. You kind of saw what he could be under Lincoln Riley. And now we get the whole full package of what he really can be here in the NFL with the Eagles. The kid can throw accurately. He's smart. He's strong. He can run. He can do a little bit of everything. And he might be right now, overall, the best quarterback in the NFC.
Oh, yeah. I don't disagree with that whatsoever, especially with the Brady decline, the way we saw Rodgers. Again, though, when we look at the way the Giants are kind of ran and what they do is they're just they can't. They're not a team that can fall into a hole like that.
Absolutely.
They rely on the rushing game. All of a sudden, Saquon Barkley became irrelevant because they got too far down. And listen, Daniel Jones has had a fine season, right? He won a playoff game on the road, but at the same time, you're not that guy, right? Like, you don't want to be that guy that has to throw the ball 40 times and try to push it downfield to win. One, because I don't think their receivers are any good. And two, I just don't think that's in his DNA. It's more work and play action. And when they get down like that, it's kind of like, it's over. And again, what you would think that they would shown up better the third time playing that team, but it was over from the the opening kick.
Yeah, it was over from the jump. It was a blowout. And credit to the Giants for getting there because I thought the Giants were going to be terrible this year. Credit to Brian Daboll and that coaching staff for what they did. They got that defense to play out of their mind with Wink Martindale. And Daboll looked at his team and said, no, we're not going to be this kind of squad. We're going to work it out, whatever works best the whole year. And they did it. I mean, Danny Dimes, the nickname Danny Dimes makes it sound like this guy's a thrower. He's not. It's just a damn nickname. He can throw the football sometimes, but this kid, you said it, when he's moving out of the pocket, when he's rolling out, when he can get rushing yards, when he's getting over 40 rushing yards, they're a good football team. When Saquon's going, they're really, really hard to stop. But that team just stood no chance against Philadelphia Eagles. Now, moving on to the other game, you had the San Francisco 49ers and the Dallas Cowboys, second year in a row in the playoffs. Dallas with a chance to move on to the conference title game for the first time since, 95? I mean,
Yeah.
only teams who have not been there since the Cowboys have been there are the Browns, Lions, Vikings. It's not a lot of teams. Yeah. There's 2 more, but Miami and someone else. Anyway, there's 5. No, it's 5 teams. It's Dolphins, Lions, Browns, Vikings, and Cowboys who have not been doing a conference title game since '95. It's been like that. So the Cowboys have a chance. And you're like, oh, Cowboys played really well against Tampa. Well, keep in mind, Tampa was an 8-9 division winner who got to host a game because they won a division, not because they were good. With Tom Brady, who threw 66 times and looked awful. He looked worse with every throw. And Tommy, we'll talk about him probably more next week, but it might be time. Father Time catches up with everyone, and he looked really, really bad. We can blame Leonard, or we can blame Fournette for not showing up. You can blame Byron Leftwich for awful play calls.
Well, they did,
but
they did blame Byron Leftwich.
They did, and he lost his job. But there was more to that. So the Cowboys were another team that we thought, okay, maybe they're better than we gave them credit for. And they go into San Francisco, and Dak tried to give that game away multiple times. Times.
It reminded me of the way he played against Jacksonville in the final week of the season.
It was bad.
Yeah. I mean, and listen, that it falls on Dak, right? It's that simple. He was careless with the football. That team has a very interesting cap situation in how they structure things moving forward because right now, the way that it's set up, they have to figure out what they're doing with Zeke. Tony Pollard's going to need paid. They're going to have to add another wide receiver. Their salary cap wise are not in a good situation. And now you look at the money Dak's making, the money Zeke's making, and it's kind of like Stephen Jones may have messed this up on as far as running this thing financially. So it's interesting to see where they get from here, but it's not surprising to see Dallas kind of fold in the big, under the big lights. And I mean, the Cowboys fans are our age or older that have really seen winning football. So I'm not overly surprised, but again, in San Francisco, it's a complete team, and they can kind of pick and choose what they do and how they want to do it. I will say Kyle Shanahan, his running scheme is the best in all of football. You can kind of put whoever back there, and he makes it work. So they got outcoached. Dak was terrible, and but overall, it's not necessarily surprising. I'll be interested to see kind of how the offseason unfolds for Dallas.
Definitely a team you want to look at, and we know the salary cap's a myth, but when you owe Zeke $10 million and he looked like he was worth $10,
what was that last play that?
That was called Zeke. You're getting smashed playing center,
and that's not even on Zeke, right? Like he just got bull rushed, and
you understood what the plan kind of was. Like they wanted to get the offensive lineman out in front. But then Dak hits Turpin in the middle of the field and no one near him except for
6 yards behind the sticks.
49ers. It was god awful. I mean, you talked about it. The Cowboys, they got a lot to figure out. And the only difference between Browns, Lions, and Cowboys fans always think they're good. When we're like, we could be good, if, I don't know, maybe if,
everything goes
the rest of the division gets hit with a meteor, we could win it.
Right.
But, maybe not. But
exactly.
Anyway, 49ers, team that does everything they just play sound, fundamental football. Brock Purdy, garbage, as far as we remember at Iowa State. He was not good. He was just If you ever thought Iowa State was going to win, you're like, oh, Brock Purdy's going to throw a pick here. And he did. The difference between Brock Purdy at Iowa State And the Brock Purdy we're seeing right here is Mr. Irrelevant in the NFL, is that Brock Purdy here in the NFL is just doing the basics, just playing fundamental football. You got a guy open, he throws it to that guy. Otherwise, no, he takes the sack, he throws it out of bounds. He almost had some rookie mistakes with clock management in this game. It worked out okay for him. But he's like, hey, I got Christian McCaffrey here. I got Elijah Mitchell. I got Deebo Samuel. I got Brandon Ayuk. I got Jawan Jennings. I've got George Kittle. Guys I can count on. I don't need to be the hero. I'm not playing hero ball. I'm just getting it done. And Shanahan says, yeah, this is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to have a lot of motion, a lot of movement, and you're going to have one read. You get it to that guy. If not, you throw it this way or get rid of it. Done. And
Kittle had an amazing catch down the seam too, which was a huge part of the game. I mean,
how he didn't get an
that one was
on that catch.
That's what I was going to say. Like when you tip the ball and then go to catch it, like that's like down the middle. That's where lives end, right?
Yeah.
That's where you have a DB coming to decapitate you. But yeah, I again, they have all the moving parts and they just do a great job in the running game because George Kittle is a fantastic blocker as well as the wide receivers. So listen, that's a team you look at and you're like, yeah, I don't think that they can win the Super Bowl. But then at the same time, you're like, if they just keep playing football the right way, then so be it.
So let's get into it. We'll move into the first game of the week. It is the 3:00 game. It is San Francisco 15-4 on the year, the number 2 seed, traveling to the Philadelphia Eagles, 15-3 on the year. 2 15-game winners at this point. 2 really good football teams. I mean, the defenses on these teams, stout.
Yeah.
NFL sack leader in Nick Bosa. NFL team sack leaders in the Philadelphia Eagles.
Didn't
you got 2 young head coaches. 4 guys over 10. Yeah. They got guys who can do a little bit of everything. I don't think
it's ever been done, actually. I think
they got guys.
Time it's ever been done.
Just clean rotation. You got a guy in, get another guy in. Yep. They're all
Hassan Reddick. You can never have enough defensive linemen.
You got Fletcher Cox on that line. You got Josh Sweat, Javon Hargrave, Brandon Graham, Hassan Reddick. And then you look at C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who they got for nothing, leading the league in interceptions. A guy named Darius Slay, who's pretty damn good, unless your name's Matt Patricia and doesn't think he's any good. James Bradbury, who was cut by the Giants, just picked up where he left off, when he was playing well. It's like that team just stacked on that side of the ball. And then you look at the damn Niners, they're stacked. Bosa, Warner. I mean, Tashawn Gibson playing well. Jimmy Ward, Charvarius Ward, your cousins. The Ward cousins sitting
all over.
They're all over the place, and they're all athletic black cornerbacks, it seems, in the NFL. They're really good. Your family roots run deep.
Yeah, they sure do.
But you look at these teams, and we can talk about the defense. Like this could be either a 41-38 game or a 3-0 game. Mm-hmm. This game can give you a little bit of everything because these teams are so complete. Now, what it comes down to is Brock Purdy, is the slipper going to fall off? Is the carriage going to turn into a pumpkin? Or is he still going to be rolling through? And yeah, I'm going with the Disney princess ideas here because daughters, man. That's all we watch.
Dad of you.
Very dad of me. But what do you see going on in this game? What is your gut telling you right now?
Yeah, I like Philadelphia. Again, offensively, I just think Philadelphia has more to work with than Dallas did. I think Jalen Hurts also has the ability to run the ball. I think between A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith's probably the best 2 still in the playoffs right now.
100%.
And so for me, it's like I look at it and I Brock Purdy's played so well, but I just don't know if Brock Purdy's going to be able to keep up with the Eagles offensively. Now, I do expect this game to be on the underside of the over-under because of the way these 2 defenses play. But I think personally, Philadelphia is going to be able to put up enough points where they're going to make Brock Purdy have to throw the ball. Mm-hmm. And again, he's played well. He's been very, very disciplined with the football. He hasn't been turning it over. But I think if they get a turnover out of him, this is Philadelphia's game to win.
Brock Purdy becomes the 3rd rookie since 1970 to start 3 playoff games, or to start in, let's see, what is it here? I want to read this right. Oh, he can become the 3rd rookie since 1970 to win 2 playoff games. Can you name the other 2 guys who've won 2 playoff games as a rookie?
No.
Joe Flacco and Mark Sanchez.
Oh, yeah.
If you
Flacco,
are
I
Brock
considered
Purdy,
Flacco, but Mark Sanchez is not on the list.
if you are Brock Purdy and you can put your name in the likes of Mark Sanchez and Joe Flacco, you need to do this.
You do.
But yeah, he can become the third rookie to win 2 playoff games or 3 playoff games, whatever it is. It's all smeared here on this paper. It's
And
the NFL notes.
that game's in the link, isn't it?
It is in the link. They are the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
So we don't know what we got to look. The weather can change. It's Philadelphia. The thing is, you got to deal with the Philadelphia fans. And this is what I love, the fact that this is in the link. Philly fans getting hammered all day up until
Being
3 o'clock.
scummy.
Just throwing batteries at Santa Claus.
Just
Niners fans.
Fighting
It's great.
Niners fans.
I mean, obviously, we're not talking about the old vet kind of thing. It's a little more laid back, but there are still those diehard Philly fans who are going to be absolutely great. And while we're talking diehard Philly fans, you hear about the hack they did last week for tailgating?
No.
So there is a lacrosse team that plays across the way, and you can get into the parking lot for the lacrosse game if you have a ticket for the lacrosse game.
Bought tickets.
So they bought tickets to the lacrosse game just so they could start tailgating 7 hours earlier for the 8:15 kickoff last Saturday night.
I did
So
just
you
see
had
Scott
dudes in
Hansen
the parking
7
lot
hours
at
of
8
tailgating.
o'clock for 12 hours of tailgating. Absolutely fantastic. But this game, man, it's going to come down to just what is Jalen Hurts going to feel comfortable doing against his defense? Are they going to be able to shut people down on the outside with the Niners? CeeDee Lamb had himself a hell of a game. He's the only dude on offense who showed up. And, I'm not a CeeDee Lamb fan. I've knocked him a lot. But it seemed like Dak was really keying on him the whole game, and no one else got open, except you had T.Y. Hilton running free a few times. Now, is Jalen Hurts going to be able to do what Dak couldn't and find the open guys against his defense in the green grass? If he can, this opens everything up. Dual threat, does that change the way the Niners cover things? We'll see. I like the Eagles in this game too, only because I feel like Jalen Hurts is a better quarterback than Brock Purdy. Otherwise, everything else is equal. And when you talk about number 2 wide receivers, Devonta Smith, maybe the second or maybe the best number 2 left in the playoffs. I kind of agreed with you right off the bat there, but then I was thinking, T. Higgins is pretty damn good for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yep.
That's a good
I agree.
top 3 there too. And I mean, Brandon Ayuk has been unbelievable as well this year with Deebo Samuel. Basically, we're saying if you got weapons, you can make it to this round. You need weapons. This game should be a really fun football game, really tight. I think this comes down to the end of the game. And it could be, a Robbie Gould field goal that is the game winner for the Niners. It could go the other way. Give me Philly because they're at home, but man, this is going to be a great football game. 2 teams just playing tough up front. And these are 2 teams that built right because they're built and stout at the lines, and they've got weapons around on each side. They're loaded. 2 complete football teams.
Yep.
Now we move on to the other game, the nightcap, the 6:30 game. The sit down on the couch with a full plate of dinner after you had something slow cooking all day long. And you're sitting down. You got the booze around you. You're ready to go because Cincinnati, AFC North champs, number 3 seed, they said, hey, no, we like this whole home field advantage thing that we get, in the conference title game. We don't care if we're traveling. We don't like this neutral site shit. Get your refunds, as Joey Burr said. Get your refunds. But that's a great thing. This is something, I was going to move into here is because you think about the link, they're going to get that home field advantage there. The Chiefs, the loudest outdoor stadium around Arrowhead, absolutely unbelievable place to play. The Chiefs coming in for like their 5th straight AFC title game there. Unbelievable how good this team has been.
Impressive. Yeah.
Joe Burrow, 3-0 against Pat Mahomes. And I know this isn't Joe Burrow against Pat Mahomes or Pat Mahomes against Joe Burrow, but that's the record. I mean, it's just the way it is. They're not playing against each other technically, but it is 3-0. One of the few guys who has been able to beat the Chiefs consistently. And you started out the show basically by saying it comes down to Patty Mahomes and that ankle. That's going to be the biggest wild card in this game. Who do you like? What do you expect to happen in this game?
Yeah, I like Cincinnati. I mean, again, it's hard to bet against Patrick Mahomes, but if you're looking for an angle, him potentially with the ankle not being his mobile self is somewhat concerning. And I know he said he was fine today. Of course, that's what he's going to say. You could also make the argument, hey, Joe Burrow's 3-0 against the Chiefs. He's due to lose a game.
Yes.
But I think for me, the difference is the way that Cincinnati's able to run the ball consistently with Joe Mixon and P. Ryan is the difference. They were really dominant up front against the Bills.
They were.
I think the Chiefs' running game is a little bit more finesse, where the Bills are kind of smash mouth. And I just think the Bengals. I just think the Bengals are the better team here going into this situation. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if it went either way. The interesting one for this one was the original spread was Kansas City -3. And now it's Bengals +1.5, which from what I've read is the biggest change in a spread in a conference championship in league history. Which does that tell me that Vegas thinks Patrick Mahomes dinged up? Maybe. Could that just be where the money's going? Certainly.
Vegas had someone in that MRI room with Pat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know how they are. But yeah, for me, I like the Bengals in this game. And again, it would be extremely impressive for the Bengals to make its back-to-back Super Bowls.
Yeah, absolutely impressive for the Bengals. I mean, this is a team that we made fun of for years, and they've been a solid franchise. They really have. I mean, Marvin Lewis had this team basically
even with Andy
near
Dalton.
the playoffs. Yeah, near the playoffs every year. And, they've been a laughing stock because they're based in the mom and pop shop with Mike Brown being cheap. And maybe that's why he kept, Marv around for as long as he did. But then you fall into getting Joe Burrow, and it shows. You get that quarterback, a quarterback who can lead, and it changes the whole moxie of a football team. And
I agree.
Then you add players like
cocky, cool motherfucker, dude. That's Joe Burrow.
And what drives me crazy is you can ask right now, there are women I know who don't watch football. And I'm like, hey, who's playing this week? And they're like, oh yeah, Pat Mahomes and Joe Burrow. It's like my kid right now is talking about Joe Burrow. She's 14. She's like, yeah, he's cute. I'm like, fucking mother. God damn, man.
Yep.
Joey Burr. Dude. Joey Burr's got that swag. He's got the Riz, as I mentioned earlier. I'm using that word twice.
How many times are you going to use Riz?
I'm cool. I'm cool, man. All right.
Debatable.
But Joe Burrow, the kid just seems to have the swag and do everything he wants. And he's backed it up every year. And had it not been for that ankle injury, if I wasn't so worried about that ankle, this is a coin flip for me. Because
it really is.
These teams are so good. And you talked about the running game. Joe Mixon had a great game last week. Now, that was against a Buffalo defense that was struggling. Can Chris Jones step up and shut that down? Can Frank Clark play?
Ask, man.
It is. Can Frank Clark play up to the guy that a lot of people think he can be? Frank Clark is a guy who shows terrible person, but can be a good football player sometimes.
I agree with that.
And can the young secondary of the Chiefs shut down Higgins, Boyd, and that man Jamar Chase? Because Jamar Chase
has even been an issue.
He has been. He's finally getting part of the offense where they're like, we got to cover all these wideouts. And you're like, oh, man, there's a guy leaking out. Oh, wait, get Mixon. Get P. Ryan out. They got weapons everywhere. And Joe Burrow doesn't care who you are, what number you have on your jersey. He's throwing you the ball if you're open. Now, when it comes to him and Chase,
I trust the weapons on Cincinnati significantly more than I trust the weapons on Kansas City.
100%. But look at what Kansas City's done, where we all thought maybe this offense isn't as good as we, maybe they're not going to be as good. They did lose Tyreek Hill, and here they are once again, not skipping a beat. And Patrick
Mahomes is freaking awesome, dude. He's freaking awesome.
100%.
He should win MVP.
I think Jalen Hurts deserves MVP. We'll talk.
We can argue that next week.
Postseason awards next week.
We got an off week next week, right? So
we do. It's Pro Bowl games week, and we don't give a shit about the Pro Bowl.
I'm actually excited about the skills competitions.
Okay, we'll see that, which is cool because you know what? When they show the old skills competitions, like on ESPN at 2 a.m. and I can't sleep, I'll watch like Steve McNair throw a ball 78 yards, and then Vinny Testaverde comes up and looks like he just walked out of he looks like a limo driver who sells Coke, just wanders up and throws the ball 82 yards and chucks it. But that's the way it was. That'll be kind of fun. But yeah, it's a lot better than the Pro Bowl. It'll be way better. And we'll give a little bit of a shit, I guess, about it this year. Like last year, I don't think either one of us gave a damn that the Pro Bowl
I
existed.
refuse to watch the Pro Bowl.
Why?
I think next week we'll be able to talk some Lamar Jackson. We'll kind of
100%.
having a nice off week. We'll be able to kind of dive into some of the stuff we missed.
We're gonna play a game, would or would not. I will ask you a question. You tell me if you would or you would not. We'll get into that next week. We got so much. I mean, we could go that way, but we won't do that to keep you out of trouble there. But
I'm sure, yeah. My wife listens to the podcast.
She's a huge fan.
She doesn't give
of
a
the show.
damn about any sports. She always tells me, "Well, good luck." I'm like, I don't need luck. Like, I'm just fucking talking. You know what I mean?
Right now, this is the best, one of my favorite shows you've ever done, because I literally have nothing really in front of me except for the notes that the NFL sent, and I've looked at them like 3 times. And the one time I tried to read them, I couldn't read it, and I stuttered more than I've stuttered just talking out the top of my head. I've also used the word Riz 3 times now on the show, which is weird, and I got to stop talking to my kids for a little bit.
It's true.
Next thing be like, no cap. And I'm like, I don't even, this game is going to be straight bussing, bro. Straight bussing, no cap. I mean, it slaps. It's going to be a banger. You know how things are going to be.
Wow, you are very diversified there. With
I deal with kids way too damn much. We're talking AFC Championship game. We both have the Bengals winning. We both have a Bengals-Eagles Super Bowl. And that'd be a good one. But the thing is, I don't think this is one of the few years where, other than the fact that I have some bets on it, because I'm a fucking degenerate at this point in my life. Other than that, I don't care who wins either game.
It'll be a good Super Bowl regardless.
Matchup.
Yeah.
I don't have to go, oh, fuck, Brady's back. Or I don't have to go, oh, I don't want to root for the Steelers or any of those teams. Like, there's not a team I don't like.
Yeah.
There's not a quarterback I don't like. I like Hurts. I like Burrow. I mean, Brock Purdy, even though I've ripped on him in college, like, I'm on the Brock Purdy train just because what that kid's done, story, man.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard to root against Brock Purdy. Now I'm rooting against him for financial reasons. But it's like I got nothing against the guy. Like, you know, it would be awesome to see him. I mean, imagine if he wins and then wins in 2 weeks. Like, that would be pretty damn it.
I mean, if he wins this game and we talk, you know, off season coming up into next week, they gave up 3 number 1 picks for Trey Lance. You got a guy who just took you to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Either way, do you go to Trey Lance or do you keep rolling with Brock Purdy? There's so much into this.
I wish I had that problem, right?
Yeah.
I wish that either of our teams had the problem where a guy took us to the Super Bowl and we had to argue about which quarterback to start.
Oh man, I don't even want to talk about think about my team. I'm just so sick.
Well, it's good that our teams are gone, so we don't even have to talk about that trash.
You know how fun it would be? Like, you know what the scary thing is? I'm going to tell you this right now, and this may be full degen. I'm looking future bets already in the next year. I think that both of our teams can win their division next year.
I think the Lions have to be the favorite to win the division next year.
I'm with you. And it's all on, does Jared Goff continue this ascent? But we'll get into that.
Awesome. He's awesome. He had a great year.
And we've come a long way on this show. I mean, you and I talked about it earlier in our text where we argued like a baby version of this show where you were team Jimmy Garoppolo. I was team Jared Goff. And now all of a sudden you're like, Goff's the top 2 quarterback in the league. Like,
no, I said that.
He's one of the better quarterbacks in the NFC. And I'm like, yeah, you're actually right. Like,
yeah,
he played like it.
Yeah, I mean,
but then Geno Smith played like one of the best in the NFC too. It's amazing
Jared
how
Goff's
much changed.
First year in Detroit was not good.
No, and even the first 5 or 6 games this year, it was is this the guy you're going to see?
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, that's the thing that about football. Everybody's like, oh, well, next year's our year to win the division. But there's so many things in football that could go wrong or go right in off seasons and trades and free agency. It's like, so in theory, you say, hey, yeah, my team next year, but things typically don't unfold the way you predict them to, as see the Rams in the Super Bowl or whatever the hell.
Yeah, and you're one injury away.
Yeah,
you're one injury away from losing everything. When it comes down to these teams, it's going to be a fun weekend of football. It's good to be back doing the show. Let's get into Ward's wagers here because I think we're so far off the game we were talking about. I don't even remember which one we were talking about. What do you like this weekend as far as Ward's wagers? And then we'll put together a little parlay at the end of this show here for us.
Yeah. Let me pull up. But now I got the bets that I've made.
Yeah, I'm into
Just like
the ones I've made.
Let me. I'm sorry to have radio sounds here, but I know because I took the points in both games. So
Okay.
I took the Eagles -2.5 at home against Niners for the reasons I labeled before. And then I also took Cincinnati getting one because I got after it extremely early. So I have Cincinnati +1 against Kansas City, which I think is a very good value to get a +1. That's the reason, which is nice, is when you're getting into gambling, if you can get the line early before things move, that's a good thing. So Cincinnati +1 is what I have. Philadelphia -2.5. I would still be comfortable. Excuse me, with the Bengals -1.5.
Yeah, I got a couple parlays over here right now set up for the weekend. I got first touchdown scorer, which gave me a +79.75, which on a $25 bet pays pretty damn well at $1,900. I got Jamar Chase and AJ Brown. I feel good about that. Now, obviously, if you're going with that, it's a gamble because you don't know if your team gets the ball first. You're going to lose odds doing that way. But my other parlay I've got
you see that dude that won like $78K, and he picked all 4 first touchdown scores last week.
Unbelievable. And he had a chance to cash out, and he stayed away from it. Thank God he did. Because that was a $5 bet, won $73,000, paid off all his debt, paid off his student loans. Good for that kid. Dude, this is a fun thing about it. Like, I'm still using a few free bets at this point. But those free bets are running out fast.
Yeah.
So if anyone,
college basketball
and doesn't want
tonight too.
How's George Mason holding up right now?
They're not ideal. Texas Tech, I had -3.5. They're down 6.5. So we're not trending in the right direction. But listen, that's why they play 2 halves of basketball.
Yeah. I got another parlay on this one. This is a solid +750. Chiefs over 24.5 points. Bengals over 30.5 points. And Cincinnati Bengals -1.5 on the spread. Felt kind of good about that one.
Yeah, like I said, I'm comfortable with the -1.5. The fact I got points in Cincinnati, I feel good about that.
Now, this is end up going to be a 41-0 Chiefs victory somehow because it's just the way shit's gone for me this week. Like we talked about prior to the show, and we're going to go off on a random tangent here as we end the show. I went with the James Harden pick this week. Didn't tell Drew about it. Drew brings it up beginning of the show. Both of us went with James Harden to score like 15-plus points that night, and he scored 6. James Harden, who has scored 20 points in every game of his career, we both put money on this bastard, and he scores 6. 6.
Let me give you a little Harden update because I know you're back on the Harden train.
I got Harden
6
tonight.
He got 6. I heard he's matching.
Listen, I just need Harden to get points, assists, and rebounds 40+. And I need Ben Simmons to get 20+. So
right
on all
now,
those.
Right now you're sitting at 10.
Woo! And I made this bet before they said Joel Embiid was going to play. Embiid was supposed to possibly be out. So I'm like, I feel good about that. He's going to carry. And then they're like, nope, Embiid's going to play. And I'm like, son of a bitch.
Well, so that's why the NBA is so difficult because there's such late swaps in the NBA where like it'll be like, oh, your star player's not playing all of a sudden? Like, yeah, it's tough.
You mean like when the Warriors sat their top 4 players and I'm like, I'm taking the Cavs this night, and then the Cavs got their asses handed to them?
Yeah.
Or last night where I took Luka. I take Luka to get 8 assists. I get everything on this parlay. I got Tim Hardaway over 5 points, I think I had Kuzma over 22, Beal over 20. I had Luka over 30. Just need Luka to get his average 8 assists. He averages 8.7. So here I am at 11 o'clock with League Pass, sitting in bed trying to go to sleep. But no, I'm watching League Pass, hoping Luka gets an assist. And Luka ended up with like
7
assists. Was it 7? It might have been 6 or 7. It wasn't 8, I'll tell you that.
I don't know. It's tough.
It's insane. It's Gambling's fun.
Yeah.
We're going to end up taking over this whole show with just gambling. It's going to be the
talking about our terrible bets.
Yeah, the crap bets. People will be talking. Listen to this bad beat I had. No, dude, that's not a bad beat. You just took a terrible line on that one.
Exactly.
Speaking of lines, next week we're going to bring up Jim Irsay and how long is too long to spend in someone else's bathroom. We're
That's
going to
a
play would or would not.
very, very good transition there, my friend. Speaking of lines, tip the cap
Allegedly.
to that.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Oh man, that is a crazy story. For those who haven't heard, Josh McDaniels didn't take the job with the Colts because Jim Irsay spent too much time in their bathroom, and Josh McDaniels' wife was uncomfortable about it. We'll talk more about that next week. We get into postseason talk. We'll talk about the games that happened this week. We will have fun. It was good to be back and just
It was.
ramble.
Man.
I mean, like I said, there was no notes for this show. We were rambling, having a good time. For those listening, watching
Thank you.
on whatever you're on, we're all over the place. Thank you. And we will get back to it next week. Anything else you want to get off just before we get out of here tonight?
No, man. It was good to be back. Hope you have a good weekend. Hopefully we cash those
same.
bets that we talked. I got my daughter's birthday on Saturday. Well, Friday, party Saturday at Swings and Things. You ever been to Swings and Things?
Swings and Things is a good place. I'll
Never
be out
been
that way
to
Saturday. I'll
some
just stop
things.
over.
Yeah, just swing on by, dude. Yeah, absolutely.
No,
So that'll
I'm
be
supposed
good.
to head out to my sister, so I'll be right in your area.
There you go. Just stop by, get yourself a piece of pizza or something.
Randomly walk up, be like, "Hey guys, I can't eat anymore."
I know, true.
Because I blew all my free bets and my life savings on the Kent State Golden Showers to win this weekend, and they let me down.
Yeah, damn.
Is there a bathroom around here that I could clean up in?
For 5 hours? Can I Jim Irsay
hanging out with
in your
Irsay?
bathroom?
Unbelievable. Yeah, this show has just jumped the rails, and rails and Jim Irsay way down the show.
Oh,
but
well done,
how old
man.
is she now? How old's the little
5.
one?
That's a big one,
man. That's crazy.
5's a
5
big
years
one.
old.
So that's why I'm spending $400 on a fucking party. So
it's worth it. I mean, you're gonna spend that much regardless of what you do or where you do it anymore.
Yeah, that's true. But you know how it is with kids. Like Friday's her real birthday, so she has a birthday Friday. She has a party Saturday. She's got fucking candy shop on Sunday. So it's a whole ordeal, but it'll be good.
It's an exciting weekend, and man, they're only little ones. You enjoy every minute of that. And good luck to you on the bets, so you can cover all the expenses for this weekend.
Yeah,
win that, cover it up, and you have a good weekend. And until next week, y'all. Remember, as always, if you live the life you love, you love the life you live. Good night, kids. And we